Hello, 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 and welcome to 20 Years with a Narcissist. I would like to start off with words of affirmations. You are whole, you are complete, you are enough. You are strong, you are brave, you are resilient. You are guided, you are protected, and you are safe. And this here is a safe place. I'm your host, Shakira, and I would like to continue with part 2 of how narcissists are made. So, to pick up where we left off, and before we get started, I would like to correct something that I stated in part 1. I spoke about the 4 pillars of, I said Islam on the video. I meant to say 4 pillars of narcissism that Dr. Ramani created to describe the different levels of a narcissist, which were lack of empathy, grandiosity, it was chronic sense of entitlement, and a chronic need for admiration or validation. They have to have it, right? So other factors that create these type of beings. Having had narc parents. Of course, if one or both of your parents were narcissists, it makes perfect sense that you end up becoming one yourself. Because if I lack empathy, I'm not going to care if you even get a scratch or a boo-boo. Oh, you hurt yourself? Okay. Oh, well, get it together. Go wipe it off. Go clean it off. Why are you telling me? Oh, unless as a child, unfortunately, you're doing something to feed the narcissist supply, they're just not going to care. But if you do, such as like the golden child, if you look like the narc parent, you're just as beautiful or whatever the case, or you're talented, you're good at singing or dancing or a sport, and they can, pretty much wave you around, say, look at my child, look at what I created, look, then you'll matter. But then you'll matter to the 10th power, because now they're really sucking a lot of their supply out of you. So it's very unfortunate, but those type of children end up becoming narcissists. Another factor would be being adopted. Now, unfortunately, as much as we don't want to believe it or understand it even, especially if you're not in the shoes of an adopted child, they feel discarded. 100%, like hands down, why did my parent not want me? Did they not love me? Was I not good enough? What did I do so wrong or so bad that they had to give me up? And, there could be countless reasons as to why a parent gave up a child, but unfortunately for that child, they just feel like they were neglected and discarded. And because of that discard and the core beliefs that it creates within the child, it's like, well, if the people who created me don't even love me or care about me, why would I ever love anyone else? Why would I care about anyone else? No, I'm now going to make it be all about me. And I'm going to, use the people for what I can use them for, get what I can get out of them, and then discard them when I'm done. And that's just it. Now, of course, not all adopted children become narcissists. Just like all children who have narc parents do not become narcissists. But these are contributing factors. Another one is, of course, is being abused. If you are a child who is constantly being tormented by your caregiver, you will ultimately create core beliefs that say, I'm not worthy, I'm not enough, I don't matter. And since that's the case, I'm going to make sure I matter to me more than anything else in this whole entire world. Right? Makes sense. AKA grandiosity, chronic sense of entitlement. No, you're going to pay me some mind. You're going to care about me. You're going to look at me as a narcissist. Yeah. It's, of course, that's going to be created due to abuse. But on the opposite end of that spectrum, a child that is overindulged. If you're constantly praised, oh, honey, you are the best. No, you're everything. You're everything. You're better than everybody else. No other kid is compared to you. And we're not talking about regular praise, because of course you're supposed to praise your children, right? They are awesome. They're all rock stars in their own right. They're all, you're going to tell them that they're amazing and, support them and praise them for good achievements, if you will. But it's when they tell you, oh, you don't have to stand in that line. Go around that person and get out of here. Or, oh, you don't, what do you need, honey? I'll get it. I'll get you 2 or 3 of them. You can have whatever you want. You'll never want for anything. It's the overindulgent. We, like extra emphasis on the overindulgent. Like they literally pour into these children in a way that make them feel like gods. I am above everyone. So of course, as you become an adult, it's like, I'm a god. I'm above everyone. If you don't bow at my feet and stop playing with me, I'm going to use you up, chew you up, and spit you out. Because, y'all, everybody else comes a dime a dozen. There's only one of me. It's insane, but it's absolutely a major factor in the creation of a narcissist. Unfortunately, if you have divorced parents or the death of a parent, that can also be a huge contribution to the creation of a narcissist. Just the separation of, especially if it was whole and complete and, everything was great, or even if it was toxic and horrible and all the parents did was fight and argue and now they divorced, it still leaves like a hole in the child. And unfortunately, most divorced children or children of divorced parents, and or if you lost a parent, especially if that parent was your favorite parent, it was the one who like really loved up on you and made you feel like you were everything, and now you're stuck with the parent who barely notices you and doesn't really cater to you at all. Yeah, you're going to develop a sense of screw everybody else. It's all about me. Forget the world. It's all about me. Because in narcissism, that is like in a nutshell. If we created a nutshell, on the outside it would be, it's all about me. It's all about me. And, once you really kind of understand that concept of it's all about the narcissist, you'll understand that you really don't matter. You only matter as much as the narc wants you to matter. So if they're using you for the source of supply for sex or your beauty, they like you as an arm candy to take you around in front of their friends because they want to show you off, or, maybe your income, your money, how much you make. I can milk you dry, run them funds, boo, yeah, pay all the bills, do everything, and I'm gonna keep all my money in my pocket. Whatever the reason may be that they're using you for that source of supply, that's the extension of how much you matter. Your feelings, your thoughts. You saying all that to say what? Baby, if you think I care, you're very sadly mistaken. But, as the way that narcissists are able to get you is because they don't act like this 24/7. They have these moments or time periods of treating you with care and, being charming and, hey, babe, let's go to Dubai. Let's, fly across the country. Let's go out to eat, even if it's something that's simple. Let's go out to eat, or I bought you some flowers. I sent you some flowers at work. You see what I did for you, girl? Ain't you happy? Yeah, I did that. You see me? Yes. You appreciate that? And then the next day, 2 days later, next week, they're back devaluing and degrading you, calling you out your name. Or some that don't even go to that extent. They just shut down and ignore you. They don't want to talk to you. Oh, you want to talk? Oh, I don't. I don't. So please, go over there and be quiet. Oh my gosh. My narc would literally shut down and not talk to me for days. And usually, you would have had to do something to trigger them. And what happens after, they have these grandiose times of happiness, if you will, if you want to call it that. You know, what seems like good energy. And, you know, they're smiling and they're happy and they're telling jokes and everything is funny and everything's, you know, all hunky-dory, if you will. And then as they go down this slope, because remember, there's this emptiness inside. I named all the factors of how narcissists become narcissists. So that abuse that they never healed from, or that death of that parent that they still have not gotten over, probably never will, or, you know, this grandiose sense of self because you were overindulged, or yeah, those things are, they're very innate, you know, they're a part of them. So at some point, it just kind of festers up or pours out. It just pours out of their being. And it's almost like they get angry because it's like, why me? And that's what causes the buildup of tension that is created, that they end up unleashing upon their targets. You have the ones, because most narcissists are very successful. They just are. And it's that level of confidence, because when you feel like, you know, I am him and I am her and it's all about me and watch me go get it, and I got to show everybody what I'm made of and what I can do and how I can do it, and you're constantly looking for validation to confirm, you know, how you feel or affirm that what you doing or what you saying is great, then they're going to go above and beyond to you know, accomplish this. And 9 times out of 10, they end up being the millionaires, you know, the ones in power, the ones in leadership roles, and, you know, the one who makes the most money at the firm. Like, they're those people. Like I said, they're charming, charismatic, usually good looking. If you go back to my first episode where I talk about the word narcissist and how, you know, where it was originated, narcissist was very charming. You know, it comes with the territory, but they are empty and broken on the inside. So that brokenness, it just, there's no way around it spilling out of their being. And once that happens, you know, they got to make, the way that they deal with it is to lash out. I was watching an episode of another podcast, and she had a self-aware narcissist on her podcast, and he was talking about how he, just for no reason, knocked his girlfriend at the time, cup of juice, water, whatever it was, clean out of her hand. Why? Like, for what though? What did you get out of that? What was going on inside of your mind and your heart that made you feel like, I'm bored, or let me just do something to make her feel how I'm feeling on the inside? They just randomly do things like that. Or another situation that I just witnessed where, you know, the narc is so full of himself, and, you know, he goes to the gym and he works out like a nut and looks great. Body is amazing, you hear me? But he sends, you know, his target pictures of himself from the gym in the mirror right after the workout. Look how ripped I am. Look at, and unfortunately, the target insulted him, told him he looked chunky. Now, note, the narc is ripped. Da, 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 da. So, of course, she was just joking. It was just a joke. But you can't joke with narcs. You can't do that. Because what you just did was insulted them. What you just did was attack their ego. And what you just did was piss them clean off. So his rebuttal to her attack made her cry, made the target break down to the finest matter and cry. Now, no, she only cried for 2.2 seconds, but then she ended up writing a whole book explaining to him or defending herself from the comment that he made after her joke. And it's so unfortunate when you don't know and understand what you're dealing with, that you don't realize you can't even joke with these people. You can't even joke with them. Nah, you think things are going so well, so good. Oh man, we've been on the up and up. Things have been great between us. So you think it's okay to just poke a little fun at them. it's not a big deal. It's what I do. Until you realize, oh snap, I think I messed up. That is what you're dealing with when you are with a narcissist. So I think we left off in my story about my narc being a middle child. Unfortunately, he was the problem child. Okay. Now, I don't know if, just became the problem child by default, being the middle child that kind of got looked over, pushed around, beat up mostly because, you look the most like that person that their caregiver couldn't stand, maybe that was the reason why. Either way, he was the problem child. He got in trouble in school all the time. He made the most, problems for his caregiver. And unfortunately, it just was like a snowball effect to where, the person he became just was somebody that even his caregivers don't particularly care to associate with, if you will. It was so crazy because throughout our relationship, even in my younger years, like when we were teenagers, when I felt like I would try to reach out to his caregivers and be like, hey, like, can y'all talk to him? Can y'all get him? Can y'all help me? It was kind of like a cry for help. Like, look what he doing. Can I tell you how he treating me? They did not want to hear it. Nope. That's your problem. You have to deal with that. You deal with it. I don't want to know. I don't even want to care. So much so that when I had our firstborn, his caregiver didn't want no parts. No, get that baby out of here. That's not a part of my family. I don't want nothing to do with that. And was it because it was an extension of the narc? Or, was it me? And at the time, of course, I thought it was me. I was like, dang, but what I do? What my baby do? Like, wow. Now, eventually the caregiver came around, bought car seat, stroller, tried to make up for the, what do you call that? It's not neglect or abuse, or maybe it is on some level, but dismissiveness of their own grandchild. Tried to make up for it, which I appreciated. I'm not going to lie. I was very appreciative of that, step that was made to be a part of my child's life. Now, it didn't remain. They, ended up moving away, so didn't really have a relationship with all my kids all the way anyway. The narc's sibling I was very close with, and they, made it their business to stay connected to my children and would bring the children to the narc's caregiver. But, that didn't remain either. Things transpired in our lives that just caused a degree of separation, and that's pretty much where we've been. But back to the story at hand. I graduated high school, and I think I told you guys about, my prom and everything like that. So I ended up graduating high school, and I started working after I had our child, because I graduated right during my pregnancy. And this is when the narc proposed. This is when he decided he was going to propose. And I believe this was after bringing me to STDs 3 times in 1 year. And I said, something's wrong with you. You need to get some type of therapy. You need help. We called ourselves going to therapy. That was a complete and utter waste of time. But when he realized, like, okay, she's slipping away a little bit, you know what I mean? She acting like she don't want me no more. He hit me with the, suicide thing. I got her to come to therapy. So let me just act like I care. Let me just give her a little bit of something so that I could hold on to her. And what better way to do that with the better way to do that than with a proposal? So I remember because my grandma had got him a job at Value City. Value City does not even exist anymore, but he was working there. It was a retail store like Walmart or something, and he he got a little cheap little 14 karat gold ring from there. And I remember because we lived in Philadelphia, so he took me over to Cobbs Creek Parkway in the duck in the back. Like, it was definitely not about to be, even though narcissists are grandiose, but this is what I mean by there's different levels of them. And some of them want to, you know, be all extravagant and propose to you in front of everybody in the world. And then you have my narc who was like, I'm gonna take you behind in the duck in this little dark ditch of Cobbs Creek in the car, just me and you, and I'm gonna pull out the ring and say, hey, you want to marry me? What? But I was a sucker for love, and you couldn't tell me that I didn't love this man. So yes, I will marry you. Let him put the ring on my little finger. And that was the beginning of him pretty much owning me. I hate to even say it like that, but we just gonna keep it a bean right now. And he was owning me, and we weren't even married yet. It was just, let me put the ring on it to make it where she doesn't even think about going anywhere anymore. Like, let's get rid of that. Let's dismiss that whole idea and that notion of you leaving me, like, because you're not going nowhere until or unless I say you're going somewhere. Let's be clear, okay? So it was one of those situations. And of course, I didn't know that at the time. I just thought, oh, finally, you know, he sees me for who I am. I knew he loved me. I knew he did. Look at the ring, y'all, little cheapy ring. But to me, it was everything. I don't know where that ring is. I don't even know how long I kept the ring or held on to the ring, because I'm sure shortly after he did something to piss me off, and that was out the window. So let's see. He proposed. I graduated in 2004. We had our child in 05, probably 05, 06. He proposed, but then the baby came into play. Remember, he had that baby on me. I read the letter, and the picture fell out, and I cried for some days about it. And then eventually I got over it, because he was, you know, in the halfway house at the time. And when he got out, he came and moved right in with me. So, you know, we got a baby together. You're not about to leave me high and dry. What we talking about? About 2008, we got married. And this was his mom, who was like, look, I need you to marry him, because they ready to deport him out this country, because, you know, we didn't really get all his paperwork together like we supposed to. So, yeah, won't you just go ahead and marry him so, you know, he could stay here. So I did. And he was horrible. I remember when we went down to, like, sign some documentation for, you know, his immigration status or whatever the case, and he I forgot the stroller. I think at that time we did not have a vehicle, so or even if we did, I don't think we did, because he had got my car impounded. He got my vehicle that we had right before I had the baby. He got the car impounded because I had to catch the bus to the hospital to have the child. The first time I went into labor, I thought I called 911. I had the ambulance come get me. I got there. I was contracting 7 minutes apart. And I was like, okay. And then they got me there, and I was there for hours, and I was not dilating at all. Like, just nothing was happening. So they sent me back home. And then, so I stayed home. If I was in labor for 52 hours, y'all, 52 hours, I had my son on the 11th at like 6:30 in the morning. And I went into labor on the 9th at like 4 o'clock in the morning. It was insane. So I stayed home on all fours, breathing through these contractions every 7 minutes like clockwork, until I couldn't take it anymore. I finally went back the next day, and that's when they was like, okay, we got some action going on. We're going to give you, I think they gave me Pitocin, if I'm not mistaken, to like speed the labor along, to open me up. And I remember getting that epidural, and it was disgusting. I was throwing it up. Like what I was throwing up was like pink and purple. And then, every time I threw up, my son's heartbeat, would like stop or not stop or maybe fade. And they didn't like that. So I remember them like going to rush me to go like give me a C-section. Like, we got to take him. We got to take him. And after being in labor for at that time, maybe 40 something hours, it was just like, I don't care. Get him out. Just get him out. Please get him out of my body. And we got halfway to the delivery room, the OR, and they was like, up. His vitals is back up. He's good, guys. Let's head back. Now, a part of me was like, no, please, just get him out. But the other side was like, thank God, because I did not want y'all to cut me open and have that scar. I didn't want to be in the hospital for longer or take longer to heal and recover. So I was very thankful that I was able to deliver my child vaginally. But like I said, I remember getting on, I was like, okay, I can't take it no more. I went and got on the 42 bus and went to the hospital to give birth to my child. So, he came out, like I told y'all, with the STDs, the whole stuff oozing out his eyes. But outside of that, my baby was healthy as an ox, and he's been that way all his life. Immune system is on 110. But he had gotten my car impounded, so we had to catch SEPTA to downtown to fill out this documentation. And because I had forgot the stroller, because I think he was still small enough for me to carry him in the holster, but like I needed to take him out and like use the bathroom or whatever it is I had to do. And it was like, oh, to my narc, can you hold the baby real quick? He refused. Absolutely refused to hold his own child because my dumb behind, because that's what he called me, forgot the stroller. Like, what's wrong with you? Why would you forget the stroller? You stupid? What? And I'm down here married you and filling out filling out paperwork for you to stay in this country, and you can't hold your own kid? What we talking about right now? What are we talking about right now? But no, guys, we got married in 2008. My son was born in 2004. So I had to have been doing this paperwork before we got married. And this is why I got to write my book, because I'm really going to iron out all the details of this relationship, because it was indeed a doozy. And, but I did this for him. I did this for him because I loved him and I cared about him, and I wanted our child to have their other parent, their father in their life. And to me, it was worth going through all the nonsense that I went through with him just to have that. So you lock me down with the ring, you knock me up with the baby, and then I marry you in 2008. And you don't even get a haircut because that's how much you care about marrying me. Like, you just didn't even care. Like, how much is a haircut? How much was a haircut back in 2008? $10? And you didn't get a haircut on purpose, because it's almost like, girl. But the narc's caregiver had, threw us a little party. We got back to the house, and, or a small get together with just us, the siblings or whatever the case. Little cake, say, congratulations, you're married. Hey. It just, as I look back at it, it just felt so fake and phony and so corny. And it's just like, and no matter how small the voice may be, there is something telling you this is not right. Like, this ain't it. Like, nah, this ain't it right here. You know what I'm saying? But I continue to go through it, because by now, we're living in this house together, and I'm just way too locked in. So the thought or idea of us not being together was just not a thing until it was. And the way that I was set up, every time he did something disrespectful, like cheat on me, bring me an STD, whatever the case, I would leave or pack him up and make him leave. So I believe we were living together in Southwest Philly. And in this house, which was right up the street from my mom's house, I'm trying to think, was that before or after the apartment that his mom gotten us? Because we were in this house, y'all, and he decided to move one of his best friends or his homies in without my knowledge, without my recollection. And he moved in, and my brother, I think my brother lived there first. My brother asked me, he didn't have nowhere else to go, so my brother moved in with me, and he was in the back. And then this was a 4-bedroom, so our son was in one room, we were in the main room, my brother was in the back, and then his friend moved in the middle room. Now our rent at the time was like $800 a month, so it was like, well, shucks, if we can break it down, like we could be paying like $250, $300 a month ourselves, because we got these other folks in here helping us pay it. So my other siblings would come over all the time. So, this friend living at my house and my other siblings coming over, now, we got, interlocking. I don't want to tell anybody else's business on this podcast. I'm telling my story. But the house got so toxic. It was so unhealthy in there. Like, it just was horrible. But I do remember, like, dealing with somebody else. We must have had a break or something, because I remember talking about it to one of my siblings, and he overheard that I had given fellatio, which to the second person I had ever done that with, to somebody else. So he had come downstairs like, yeah, so I heard, you did such and such with somebody else. Like, I thought you was my little angel. Like, I thought you was all for me. So a certain level of respect was absolutely lost with me, because it was like, you put somebody else's in your mouth? Like, that's what we doing? As if he hadn't done that countless times with countless numbers of women. Let's be clear. Let's be clear. Like, when you pull up them on them, like, they do not know what to do with it. It's like, what? Now, no, in this house, I would make the money and give him the money to pay the landlord, because we got in this house through a connection to the landlord. He knew him personally. I think, it was like a family friend or whatever the case. So it was like, okay, well, just here's my portion, go ahead and pay our rent. Next thing I know, we getting a notice talking about we're 3 months behind on the rent. Say what? Hold up, pause, time out, flag on the play. What are we talking about right now? There's no way we're behind on anything, because I gave up the bread. Bruh, what is you doing with the money? I forget what kind of gaslit story this man gave me that just did not make sense at all, and it didn't even matter, because now, unless we pay 8 times 3 is how much? $2,400? By the end of this month, and then that month is going to be due in a second, we had to roll out. So what y'all think happened? We rolled out, because at that time, I think I was a CNA, and I was only making like maybe $10, $12 an hour. So a good $300, $350 a week. That was it. That's it. That's all. That's all. And he was, on the streets selling what he was selling and making what he could make, or whatever the case. So it wasn't enough to come up with $2,400 in a couple weeks. We couldn't do it. We just couldn't swing it. But it was kind of a gift and a curse, because we needed to get out that house. Like, it was just too much going on in there. And at some point, I called it the devil's playground. I was just like, oh no, I got to get up out of here. So I did. And I believe I went back to my mom's. We go back and forth. I would move in, move out, move in, move out. But now, after having that independence of being in outside of my mom's house and being on my own 2 feet, it was like, I don't want to be here. I don't want to be here. I want to be on my own. All right, so my sound is not going to be the same, because I forgot to plug in the microphone. Dang it. So it was a very daunting, relationship to be in. And as I went through it, throughout it, it was always a like, Shakira, you deserve better. Like, why? Why do you keep dealing with this person? Like, it just doesn't make any sense. You just need to leave and be done. And would have been nice, but I just didn't. So within this time frame, 2008, 2009, we had the house, we lost the house. I married him. We remember that the story with his baby mom where I took her to my house to fight him because she told me that they were sleeping with each other, and we were like, okay, he's not going to take care of these kids, or like, that's what she said. So it was like, we got to do it together. So we tried, but all she talked about was him. All she cared about was him. I slid off from her. I started nursing school the end of 08 into 09. I got pregnant with our second born. Throughout that, he drove me to and from school. He pretty much took over my vehicle because my license was suspended. So it was like, I'm not going to let you drive. That was a gift and a curse too, because I was mad. I couldn't drive and move and come and go as I pleased. But at the same time, I was able to pay off everything, serve my suspension, and get my license back. So it was like, thank you, for being an asshole, because you helped me get my license back. Whatever. But yeah. So 09, I had my child. No, I had moved out and away from him about in 09 because I was at my grandma's house when I gave birth to her. He would come over back and forth sometimes to see her. About 2010, what was going on in 2010? Because I remember when we broke up, I cut my hair. I cut it really short, and I was just like, yeah, new me. Let me cut the old away and be done with it. And this is the new me. And, it was short-lived. I believe 2011, he was living with somebody else. He ended up, that somebody else ended up getting their name tattooed on their body, on their body. And, he informed me of this. And I believe, now looking back in hindsight, knowing that he's a narcissist, he just wanted to show it off. Because, no, we've been together since 2000, 2001. I think it was 01. And then now here we are, 2009, 2010, somebody else that got his name tatted. And I never did. And I never did. And, like, it was never happening. So that was one thing I never did, like, thank goodness. But, all the other things I went through, that was the least of my worries. Anyway, I think that was a grandiose moment, or of like a look at me, like somebody got my name tatted, I must be that bull type time. So he ended up using her up and rolling out on her just to come move in with me. At this time, 2010, yes, I was studying with the Jehovah's Witnesses. I was Christian Baptist Christian. I grew up in the church all my life, and then, up until 2010. And I was probably about 24 then. And my cousin had came up from, she lived in Alaska, which I thought was very interesting. To move somewhere where like the winters are like -4 degrees. Like, why would you want to live there? I personally do not like the cold. Like, who wants to be in the cold? Like, not me at all. So, it was just in a space where I was like, toodles to you, but welcome back to Philly. But she, introduced me to the Jehovah's Witnesses. I thought that it was a better way to learn the Bible, if you will, because it's still the Bible, but they called it something different. And I think I spent about a year, from 2010 to 2015, actually, I indulged in the Jehovah's Witness faith. I definitely did. I met some amazing people. I used to go to Bible study, and by then, this is 2010, because I had went 2010. Yes, okay, so 2010 to 2015. Because I'm like, wait, I went to Florida, came back from Florida because I had 4 kids by the time I was doing the Bible study, and I remember her telling me, because my kids were all over the place, like they were a handful, and I got, these different ages down to one that's still on my lap, and I was so overwhelmed. And I remember her saying, at some point, you're going to have them all standing at attention. It's going to be like, yes, mom. Okay, mom. And the way she used to motivate me and make me feel so good. Like, oh, man, you think so? Like, really? I can't wait. Because I just was just like not feeling it at that time. I remember saying, like, how am I supposed to keep coming here? Because you would go twice a week. And how am I supposed to do this? It's too much. It's just outrageously too much. And but some way, somehow, I worked it out until things changed. I am actually going to end this episode here. I think we're leaving off around 2010, 2011, when I was studying with the Jehovah's Witnesses. I had moved into our first Winfield apartment. I moved to Winfield, and he had left the girl who got his name tatted and moved into my house. And actually, that apartment was the cousin from Alaska. She could not handle being in Philly. Her hair, as she said, it was too humid over here on the east side up in the United States. She couldn't do it. She had to go back to Alaska where it was cold, where her hair was going to be bone straight and beautiful and gorgeous and flowing. Because yes, her hair was down her back, down her shoulder, like it was flawless. And she would get it straightened up and everything here, and then it would just poof back up, and she just could not stand it. And of course, it was other reasons. That wasn't the only reason, but she ended up heading back to Alaska. So she broke her lease early, and she gave me, she asked me if I wanted to take it over. So I did. And when I moved in there, once, the narc knew I moved out of my grandmom's house into somewhere where I was alone, where he could kind of infiltrate and get back in and take over the way he likes to do, that's what he did. He left that situation, came in with me, and it went from there. So we'll jump back in from there in the next episode. I'd like to thank you all for joining me. Until next week, have an amazing, blessed day.